Describe a piece of technology, not a phone, that you would like to own. There's one piece of technology that I've wanted for quite a long time, and it's a professional mirrorless camera called the Sony A7 IV. I first became interested in it during a trip to Da Nang last summer. One of my friends brought the camera along, while everyone else, including me, was just using our phones. That evening, he showed us the photos he had taken, and I was honestly amazed. The pictures were incredibly sharp, the colors looked very natural, and they captured details that my phone simply couldn't. Out of curiosity, I asked him about the camera, and later that night, I watched several review videos on YouTube. That's how I found out more about it, and ever since then, it's been on my wish list. The only downside is the price. The camera body alone costs around 40 million Vietnamese dong, and if you add a good lens, the total comes to about 50 million. It's definitely a big investment, so I'll probably have to save up for quite a while. The reason I'd love to own it is that photography has gradually become one of my favorite hobbies. I enjoy traveling and capturing beautiful moments, and I also create teaching materials from time to time, so having a high-quality camera would make both my photos and videos look much more professional. Although it's expensive, I genuinely think it would be worth every penny, and I hope I'll be able to buy it someday.
3. Describe something that you can't live without, not a computer/phone. Apart from my phone, there's one thing I almost never leave home without whenever I travel, and that's my camera. I bought it a few years ago after saving money for quite a long time, and ever since then, it's accompanied me on almost every trip and family gathering. Whenever we go somewhere together, I'm usually the one taking photos. My friends often joke that I'm hardly ever in the pictures because I'm always standing behind the camera. I don't really mind, though, because I genuinely enjoy capturing meaningful moments for everyone. The camera has become much more than just a gadget. It allows me to preserve memories that I can look back on years later. Every photo reminds me of a particular place, a special occasion, or the people I was with at that time. Besides that, photography has also become a relaxing hobby. Whenever I feel stressed, I like going outside with my camera and taking pictures of nature or street life. That's why I can't imagine living without it. Some people treasure expensive jewelry or designer bags, but for me, the most valuable thing I own is my camera because it's filled with memories that money simply can't replace. Describe an item on which you spent more than expected. One purchase that immediately comes to mind is my camera, because I ended up spending much more on it than I had originally planned. A few years ago, I decided to buy my first proper camera. My initial budget was around 20 million Vietnamese dong, and I thought that would be more than enough. However, when I visited the camera shop, things didn't go according to plan. The salesperson patiently explained the differences between several models and even let me compare the image quality. Once I saw the photos side by side, I realized the more expensive model was significantly better. So I decided to upgrade. The problem was that buying the camera body wasn't enough. I also needed an additional lens, a memory card, a tripod, and a camera bag. By the time I paid for everything, I'd spent almost 35 million dong, which was far beyond my original budget. I bought it because photography had become one of my biggest hobbies, and I wanted a camera that I could use for many years. Looking back, although I definitely spent more than expected, I don't regret the decision at all. I've taken thousands of photos with it, brought it on countless trips, and created lots of wonderful memories. So, even though it was an expensive purchase, I believe it was money well spent.
2. Describe a program or app on your computer or phone. One app that I use all the time is Adobe Lightroom, and I honestly can't imagine editing my photos without it. Since photography is one of my favorite hobbies, I don't just enjoy taking pictures, I also love editing them afterwards. Whenever I come home from a trip, I transfer all the photos from my camera to my laptop, make myself a cup of coffee, and spend an hour or so editing my favorite shots. I first discovered Lightroom a few years ago while watching photography tutorials on YouTube. Almost every professional photographer recommended it, so I decided to download it and give it a try. At first, I found it a bit confusing because there were so many editing tools, but after watching a few beginner videos, I gradually learned how to use it. Nowadays, I use it several times a week. It allows me to adjust the lighting, colors, and contrast, and sometimes a photo that looked rather ordinary becomes something I'm genuinely proud of. What I like most is that it helps improve a photo without making it look fake or over-edited. It simply brings out the beauty that was already there. For me, photography doesn't end when I press the shutter button. Editing is just as enjoyable, which is why Lightroom has become one of my favorite apps.
5. Describe something important that has been kept in your family for a long time. One item that's been kept in my family for more than 20 years is an old film camera that originally belonged to my father. He bought it when he had just started working because photography was one of his biggest hobbies at the time. So basically, the camera is even older than me. Back then, owning a camera wasn't very common, so he treasured it and took it almost everywhere he went. The reason it's so important is that almost every precious memory in my family was captured with this camera. It recorded my parents' wedding day, photos of my mother when she was pregnant with my sister and me, and our very first days as newborn babies. As my sister and I grew up, my father continued taking pictures on birthdays, family holidays, school ceremonies, and countless ordinary moments that eventually became unforgettable memories. Every Tet holiday, we usually take those albums out and spend hours looking through them together. We laugh at our childhood hairstyles, remember funny stories behind each picture, and sometimes even become a little emotional because they remind us how quickly time has passed. To me, that old camera is much more than an outdated piece of technology. It's the reason our family's most meaningful moments have been preserved so beautifully. If my father hadn't owned it, many of those memories might have faded away over time. That's why, although it isn't worth much money today, its sentimental value is absolutely priceless.